I am not adverse to nuclear power. I'm not someone who has a history of attacking nuclear power. But I do have a problem with the fact that the U.S. government, the Russian government, the Japanese government, the French government, all have long histories that have been widely reported of covering up serious safety lapses. And that's my message here. If we look at past performance, we cannot trust in government to tell us the truth about what's happening right now in Japan after the 9.1 earthquake hit last Friday and the resulting tsunami. We have had at least 2 of the reactors at Fukushima, 1 and 3, melt down. One of them exploded on Saturday. That was unit number 1. Number 3 blew sky high on Monday morning. And the Japanese government still on Saturday was saying that there had been no meltdown. Later, they had to admit there had been a meltdown, a partial meltdown in Unit 1 and 3. Again, continuing the deception. Now, at the Fukushima plant number 3, they're actually using plutonium along with uranium in a Mark I General Electric reactor. Now, plutonium is many times more deadly than uranium. And it's now being reported that rods are exposed. If this starts to get out into the environment, it's worse dealing with fallout than with something like a nuclear bomb, atomic or hydrogen, because most of the fuel is suspended and is destroyed in the fusion reaction. That's not the case with reactors. It's the equivalent of a dirty bomb. And you've got all 6 of the units in danger at Fukushima. You've got several other big units separate from that facility that are in danger of melting down or have partially melted down. And it just gets worse and worse by the hour. And remember, the Japanese have been caught lying in history about nuclear disasters over and over again, and they've been caught being deceptive about this one. The final issue is fallout. We don't know the full extent, but the jet stream over Japan comes directly into the west coast of the United States. And I don't think we can count on the federal government or our media to tell us the truth. Just like in 2003, radiation detectors in Europe picked up the DU that had already circled east all the way around the world from those weapons being used in Iraq and Afghanistan. The United States did not report on any of its detectors picking up radiation because they were suppressed and told not to talk about it. And so you cannot count on the government or the mainstream media to tell you the truth about this. There's a history of lies and deception. Just as we've seen a meltdown at multiple plants in Japan, when just a few days before they said it was impossible, we have also seen the meltdown of the dollar. Now, more than 11 years ago, I interviewed economists like George Humphrey who talked about the thousands of trillions of dollars that would be created with the end of Glass-Steagall. And now we've seen the aftermath of that with the mainstream media making fun of anybody that warned the public dealing with dollar devaluation. Now in the last week, we're seeing a meltdown of the dollar as well, with the Wall Street Journal's headline, "Why the Dollar's Reign is at an End." This will be the equivalent of financial Armageddon if it continues. That same week, billionaire Carl Icahn returned $1.76 billion to his investors, saying that the stock market was just too volatile and dangerous for him to be able to manage people's money. And on the heels of that announcement last week, PIMCO's director, the biggest hedge fund in the world, announced that they're no longer going to be buying U.S. Treasury bonds because in the future they see them losing value as the dollar continues to erode worldwide. So much is happening. And what we know is that people in power, in private finance and in government, love to have plausible deniability and to be able to deny things as long as they can so that they don't get the blame. And whether it's the meltdown and implosion of the dollar as the world reserve currency or the meltdown and explosion of nuclear power plants in Japan, a lot of information is being withheld from the public. So I challenge you to research for yourself what's happening in this world and to join us weekdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Infowars.com, where we cover what's really happening on this planet today. where we put our heads together and attempt to awaken the sleeping giant that is humanity to the fact that the social engineers and the people sailing this ship are basically treating us like the Titanic. They think they're too big to fail. They think that not even God can sink this ship. And we know how that ended for the Titanic. The globalists do not have our best interest and, quite frankly, their own best interest at heart. It's time for people to wake up and take what's happening in this world very, very seriously and to stop trusting the mainstream media.
Okay, folks, real quick here for those, if you haven't seen this map posted on rents.com yet of the fallout from the nuclear explosion from Japan, you've got 10 days before you'll be looking at 750 rads from the west coast as far inland as Colorado. So this is just a heads up real quick. God bless and Godspeed.